This is a story of an underground museum with a rooftop square, which we decided to improve years later in response to growing climate awareness. The Przełomy Dialogue Center was created in Szczecin, on the site of a pre-war block of tenement houses destroyed in bombings. After World War II, a makeshift square emerged there, where 16 people were later killed in the 1970s during clashes with the militia. In 2009, the city announced a competition for a historical museum to be created there. Our concept was an urban hybrid, combining the seemingly contradictory traditions of this place, being both a square and a quarter. To implement it in this form, we had to go beyond the designated development area, breaking the competition rules. Setting the museum underground, we stepped into the background, creating a foreground for the neighboring Philharmonic Hall. The corner with the museum entrance marks the former quarter, while forming the undulating surface of the square, which has become popular with children, skateboarders and cyclists. We were initially prohibited from using the flooring for sports activities, as the city wanted the spot to be solely a place of remembrance. We managed to secure it, following a struggle, but the square's topography posed yet another problem. As it turned out already during the first ceremonies, the least prominent persons stood at the top, while soldiers tripped as they marched. Still, the veterans had the biggest problem with the skateboarders, but we helped these groups come to terms. This is the day when Konieczny handed the award for the best public space in Europe to the province marshal on rollerblades. It was also when the fine for skating on the square was lifted. Since then, the square has become a public forum for thousands of people, a space that was previously lacking in the city. It was 2016 and we thought our role there had come to an end. 4 years later, in 2020 in Ostrava, our Plato Contemporary Art Gallery project was launched. The rotating walls make the surroundings an extension of the exhibition space. Initially, we assumed it would be a square with a paved surface, similar to the one in the Przełomy Dialogue Center. However, the UN climate report changed our mindset, and in the end, we successfully fought for a biodiverse park that serves both art and the local community. The year was 2021. At the same time, we began to revisit the Przełomy Dialogue Center, wondering if more greenery could be added there. We had thought about greening the entire area back in 2009, but firstly, there is a multi-hectare park behind the Philharmonic, and secondly, the city lacked a public square which we ultimately decided on. 2 days of rainfall during a local festival confirmed that our decision was right. A green surface would have severely limited the usability of the public space. To preserve the public forum for various events, we decided to plant only a few trees to shade the seating areas. The trees on the roadside will obscure the Philharmonic, which we initially wanted to avoid, but now the priorities have changed. There will be retention tanks developed under the pavement to collect rainwater. In 2022, we created the concept, but then we had to convince politicians to make it real. In the end, the marshal recognized that it conveyed an important message indeed, that there is nothing that cannot be improved. The improvement of the museum in Szczecin stemmed from our experiences with the Plato Gallery, which shows how our projects intertwine. You can read more about this in our unusual monograph, Buildings Plus Ideas, created with Philip Giodidio, featuring Robert Konieczny's narrative underneath the illustrations. The book will be available at the Arsenal and Giardini's bookstores during the Venice Architecture Biennale.